Hello and welcome. My name is Can Saraç and I'm a game audio designer. Today we'll be doing a small tutorial about sword impacts. I'll be using a small clip from the Demon's Souls remake trailer that came out about a year ago. There's a moment in this trailer where our player character is stabbing one of the enemies from its back. I really enjoyed the sound design in that moment, so I really wanted to try my own version of it. In this tutorial though, we'll only be using Reaper stock plugins and sounds available inside the Vadi Sound Library. Vadi Sound Library is an online, cloud-based sound library solution. They offer more than 30,000 sounds in their system. All of these sounds are recorded in 96K and 24-bit, and they also follow the UCS naming convention. They're constantly adding new sounds and new bundles into their system, and they offer a very affordable monthly subscription plan, which I think makes it easy for people who are starting out in the industry or people who don't have access to a lot of sounds. In this tutorial, we'll be able to demonstrate if you have any DAW and if you have access to internet, and if you get Vadi Sound Library, you'll be able to do any kind of sound design with these tools. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a small mini-series doing different types of sound design tutorials similar to this in the future. So before wasting any more time, let's get into it. Yeah, just a very small clip and some stabbing sounds and gory sounds, and make the video smaller again. Yeah, I think it's a nice video. I really liked the original version, the trailer, so I thought I could maybe give it a try on my own, and I'll just kind of talk about what I did, why I did certain sounds in this way. So my initial idea was to just put these two markers for the key moments, which was, one of them was this initial stab right here when he pulls back his sword and makes the impact, and then he goes all the way inside. All the flesh and blood and stuff coming out in a disgusting way. So just great, get all of that information out there. And then he does a little twist with his arm while the sword is still inside, and add some more stuff for that little section. That's about it. I didn't do anything else. So for these especially for this first one, I wanted to separate it into 4 sections. The first one being I called it a pre-impact sound almost. You can, if you go up frame by frame, you'll see that the impact happens at this frame. So logically speaking, if you wanted to just make it realistic, you would not have any of this stuff and it would be just the impact sound, but that would make it sound kind of boring. It would be maybe realistic, but it would be a little bit boring in my opinion. So it's important to have this build up sound, which eventually transitions into the impact sound, which we will talk about in a little bit. This one, if you listen to it on its own, it makes, realistically speaking, it doesn't really make sense, but it's really important to have it as to build up the sound and get the impact, build up for the impact and make it more exciting. So if you listen to it without the, just a little bit of plugins here, just EQ and limiting, nothing interesting. It's very subtle. It's not a huge sound, but it's just these small details of sound. We can go one by one. This has some low information. This has some metallic information. Same with this one. We can listen to these together maybe. Same with this one. It has a little bit of what do you call it, like a scrape information. Same with this one, these two are kind of together. This one as well, just like a little tiny detail. And this one I wanted to have it just like a little whoosh. It's not, there's no real whoosh happening here, it's just like stabbing him really quickly. But, and this sound itself is not a traditional sword whoosh either. It's like, it's a bit low and mid-low almost, or actually mid-high maybe. But let's hear it without the EQ. It was a little bit more on the lower side. I made it kind of like a little bit higher with the, I put on the EQ, just cut out some of the low sections. Yeah, just to get the player excited for the impact. Like, as you can see, his sword is not touching anything, but when you hear the whole thing, it makes it feel more exciting, which is something important. Like one of our teachers used to say, like when you're making something like this, you're not making a documentary, you need to be making it exciting and powerful and magical and that kind of stuff. So the idea behind this section was kind of like that. And one thing maybe you may have noticed is how I faded out these endings. We can also hear it with the, yeah, I didn't do much processing here either, just re-EQ, re-limit, just get more low stuff from it, just keep like the sharper sounds in it, and add a little high shelf here to just make the higher sounds a little bit brighter than they are. Not much, just like 3 dB, I guess, like very subtle. You can hear it with and without. And a limiter I just put in. Maybe I can talk about this in a bit more detail, but just this is with the EQ only. Yeah, you can hear like it's very bright, very shiny sounds, like yeah. But the limiter, I used the limiter. I really like this limiter actually. It's a stock limiter, but it has nice functionality for me. Like you can hear it makes a difference. I use it like I don't want to say like a compressor, but just make the quieter sounds a little bit louder than they are. The way I set up is usually like this is how it starts out. I really like the link function here, so I just link it up, listen to the sounds, found a spot that I like, and then turn off the link and make it a little bit louder. Yeah, I mean, it's very subtle. Like again, with like compressors and stuff, you wanna make it doesn't make day and night, just subtle differences. But it's nice. Yeah, and for this little fade-in section, for me, I really like doing this, and I think it's really key for what happens in this next section, which is the transient. For the transient, I just use this one single sound, which is really simple. Like when you hear it, this is without any, I only have a distortion, wave shaping distortion, and another limiter here. It's a sound that almost like doesn't make much sense. Like how does that apply to any of this? That's what makes you think. But in in situations like this where you need a big impact sound, the transient is really important. It makes a huge difference in terms of how strong the impact and how powerful your sound is going to be. And yeah, this is just the sound that I grabbed from the library, gore, stab, hard. It's like the original sound is longer, I think, yeah. But I just cut it up for this initial part, just the two and a half frames, 3 frames. And because it sounds a little bit small, I added this like distortion plugin. Again, another Reaper stock plugin, just like distorted like quite a bit, and it just made it a little bit stronger, and then added a limiter, just very subtle, just so it doesn't do much clipping or anything. You might think like it almost sounds like a pink noise or a white noise or something, which is something you can also use, in my opinion. I'm not sure if it's something that's done a lot, but like I mean, we could even try it actually. If we put a little MIDI track here, add some pink noise. Yeah, just a mono pink noise, and give it a similar like fade and stuff. Let's just mute this one for now. I mean, you can get a similar result. Yeah, I think maybe you can do a bit more EQing to get the sound you want. Maybe make it a little less bright. High shelf. Just a little bit. And maybe get rid of the very low stuff. It makes a huge difference. Like, it'll make more sense when if I show it. We can just delete this maybe for now. I mean, yeah, it's a very basic sound. That's what I was trying to point out. We can mute the track for now. That was just an example. It's really, it'll make more sense when I play it with the other sounds. If I mute it, and if we hear the sound, the whole sound, and with it, like, you can immediately tell it's not a subtle difference. It's really important. It's really big, and it makes a big change. But when you hear it on its own, it's like, what? It's just like 2 frames. But yeah, I pay really big attention to this. It makes a big change. But anyways, let's just keep going. That's the second section. The third section would be the bass, and the fourth section would be the detail and like the gory sounds and the crunchy sounds and the bloody sounds and that kind of stuff. But quickly talk about the bass detail. Because this is like a fatality kind of move, I exaggerated a little bit more than I normally would, I think. So if we just hear it without anything I did, it's like a bass drop, a subtle bass drop, and a metal door impact kick, something like that, with some distortion and EQ, just cutting out the high stuff, and again, like very heavy distortion. Sorry, just add like that beefy. This will only be used in a fatality situation, I think. Like, normally that sound doesn't need this much low end, otherwise it'll just like get too too cluttered if you just hear this much bass in every time you stab an enemy. But this is like a special kind of like killing sound, so I think it's important to have it. So if you don't have this, it would sound like this. When you have it, like it just gives that a little bit more excitement and power. Yeah, it's also really key. And the fourth section is the detail, which has like all this crunchy sounds, bone breaking, flesh, blood, squishy, bloody, I don't know, all of that nasty sounds, blood splatting on the ground and that kind of things. And yeah, there's no like real secret strategy or anything like that. My initial process was to grab a whole bunch of sounds from the library and just stack them up on top of each other and listen to them one by one again in my Reaper, and then kind of like edit them in a way that kind of fits the video. And once you have like a whole bunch of layers, I mean, you could have just one and it kind of works. Like it doesn't sound good, but it works. Like it's okay, he's stabbing him. But when you have this on top and then you have this and this, you just keep adding this. Yeah, you just keep going and going, and it just gets more fleshy and more gruesome, and then finally you add like the blood spilling on the ground. What you want to do is you just pay attention to what's happening and what information you need to provide to the player. So in this situation, we have a powerful player. This is like a smaller enemy, not that it's not a boss enemy, it's not a powerful enemy, it's nothing like that, and we're killing him with this like one single blow from the back. So you want to convey that information, just like we're really strong, we're just like butchering this guy, like completely obliterating him. Is done, that's it. And yeah, you just convey that information. Just blood splitting on the ground, and yeah, and then you just finally, and then it was kind of like the similar process here. I didn't make any additional transient sound for here because it was just the twist. I added like a little bit of like subtle metal movement, which is, yeah, it's just like kind of like twisting it inside the guy, and a little bit more bloody detail. The thing I made different here is, maybe you can tell, all of them is like lower pitch than the original sounds, and this one is like even lower. Like all of them are 3 semitones. This one is 6 semitone lower than the original recording. So it just made it sound like they're coming, like they're a little bit deeper. So if you listen to them back to back, so it's like dun, dun, like it just make them, and all of them are shorter because like it's a very small twist. It's making some blood coming out and stuff, but it's not as big as this one. So you want to make sure they're different. They're not like equally big, or they're not. So if you made it like this, like it's okay, but it's too big maybe. Like you want to make sure it's not as big as this one, or this one is not as small, not that small as this one. Like you want to make sure this is the big one, this is the small one, that kind of thing. And I think, yeah, that's maybe about it. So if you listen to it back again, oh okay, maybe there's or here I wanted to use the regular distortion, not the wave shaping distortion, and I didn't touch it at all. This is the default start. But another tool you can use is every Reaper plugin has a mix plugin, mix knob, which is really cool. And if you listen to these sounds without distortion, they're really different. They still have the same sounds, but it doesn't have that same greedy, dirty, like same dirtiness, same greediness. It's like it makes it a bit more. It makes it a bit more than what it is I think what I'm trying to say. With the distortion. And same with the limiter here. Again, I did, like you can see, it's a similar approach, just made the quieter bits louder than they are. So without the distortion and the limiter. With the distortion and limiter. So it's not really like a small volume change or anything, but because the distortion is like really distortion just made it like, I don't know, 18-20%. If you go all out, it'll become too much. It doesn't sound nice anymore. So you want to make sure like you're using it smartly, not just like exaggerating that much. I think that's like a balance point, 18% in this case. I think it sounds okay. I mean, of course you can keep working on it, you can keep adding more details. Yeah, maybe one thing I forgot to talk about was this. I really like doing this to make sure, because this impact is your attack of the sound, the biggest moment, the strongest, the loudest point of the sound. So you want to give this tiny bit of like breathing room for the sound. If you have these like overlapping, you can kind of see, like even just from the waveform, they'll get like all mixed up. Or if you can make this even smaller if you want, sorry, bigger if you want, which would be okay, but it won't make a huge difference. It's like you can see it's maybe like 30% of one frame. It's a very, very tiny difference, tiny area, but it makes a really big difference in my opinion. Just to have that tiny bit of breathing room for the attack to, sorry, what did I do? For the attack to shine. It makes a really big difference. So if you have it like this and listen, and with before, it's really, really subtle, but it's like these small differences you make on your sound that take it like just a little step above than the others. It helps it make more powerful and stronger. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope there was useful information for you in this tutorial. Please let us know if you want similar content in the future, so we can create similar sound design tutorials with using different clips or different techniques. Thank you.